As a game dev, I often get questions like, how do I start? Or how do I program X feature? During this video, I'm going to show you the process I use and many others use to figure out how to program something. This process can be used for software and game dev, but I'll be sticking to game dev ideas while going through this video. I'm going to list the process and break down every part more in depth as we go through them. Part 1. Break down the problem into the most basic idea. The problem we're going to be breaking down during this video is a player picking up a health pack and getting health. The goal is that the player gains health at the end of this. The most basic idea is that the player will gain health from the medkit. At this step, we don't include how the player will interact with the medkit, how much health the player will gain, or what happens to the medkit once it's used. We make the idea as basic as we can. Part 2. Take the basic idea and expand on it step by step. This is usually the hardest step for most people, as they might miss a step or overthink this process. Our basic idea was that the player will gain health from the medkit. Depending on the game you will be making, you may change the way the player interacts with the medkit. But for this example, we are going to say that the player must collide with the medkit to get the health. So step 1, player must have collision and detect that it has had a collision. Step 2, player must check what it collided with and figure out if it was a medkit or something else. Step 3, players will be given health from the medkit. And step 4, delete the medkit that we ran into. We need to make sure we delete that exact one and not any of the other ones that are on the level. So looking at these steps, we see that we need a few things. A, the player and the medkit will both need a collision box. B, we need to check what the player has collided with. And C, we need to give the health to the player. And D, delete that medkit instance that we ran into. Part 3, for each step written, write pseudocode or scratch code. Now, most modern game engines can add collision box to the editor of the game engine, and we don't have to program them manually. We can assume that I've already created those collision boxes. Now for step 1, the player must have a collision and detect that it has a collision. So the pseudocode I've written is object equals objects collided with. Now the second step was the player must check what it collided with and figure out if it was a medkit. So right now I said have if object equals medkit, and then the third one being player will add health from the medkit. So if it was that medkit object, health plus equals 25, so we'll add 25 into the current player's health pool. And then finally, destroy object collided with, which will destroy the object that we originally collided with and not any of the medkits that are on the map. Part 4, write the actual code for each step. So our scratch code is right here with object equals object collided with, if object equals medkit, health plus equals 25, and destroy object collided with. Now I want to show you the code that I've actually written in the game engine called Godot. I have func on player collision box, area entered, area, if area get name equals medkit, health plus equals 25, and area.queueFree. Now let me break down each line of these codes. The first line of code is the function detecting if there was any collisions with the player's collision box. When there is one, it is given the name area. Now the second line checks to see if that collision was in fact the medkit, so that was step 2. So error.get underscore name equals medkit. If it is, then it adds that health plus equals 25, giving that player an extra 25 health points. And then finally, area.queueFree, which queueFree is a way of getting rid of an object in Godot. And part 5, test, and if it fails, repeat the earlier parts. At this point, we will launch the game, make our player move, and check to see if it has deleted the health and given our player the health. Now, depending on what you're working on, this may take multiple times to go through this process. The first time may not work, or it may be a very basic system that you'll need to expand on later. If it doesn't work, go back to the beginning and verify the steps that we've created and the code we have created lines up to what the project needs. If it does and it works, that's great. If not, then we start the debugging process. Now this is the most important part if you're working on a project, especially as a solo dev. Make whatever system you are creating expandable. Never make something that you will require hours of reworking just to add a health pack that gives you double health. In that system I've created above, you can easily modify it by changing a few lines of code, and by changing those lines of code, you can have it that you can pick up almost all of your item pickups in your game. The next two videos working on are being a better programmer and learning where to get the information you need while programming and debugging, and then I will be starting to look at the Godot engine. If you have any questions, place them in the comments below and I'll try my best to answer those questions. And I want to thank you for watching.